Hey guys, Happy New Year from me, Sith430. Now that 2016 is over, I could properly give you guys a list of my opinion for the worst 8 movies of 2016. Now, to keep in mind that I have not seen every movie that came out this year, and these are my opinions. So first, let's start off with the list with some dishonorable mentions, movies that were bad, but not bad enough to make it on the list. Now, first is Office Christmas Party, Ben-Hur, Collateral Beauty, Warcraft, Ghostbusters, Alice Through the Looking Glass, Brothers Grimsby, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Out of the Shadows. Those are some dishonorable mentions, and let's get into the actual list with number 8, Ride Along 2. This movie, the sequel, was completely unnecessary. The first Ride Along was okay. I wouldn't say I enjoyed it, but it was passable for a standalone movie, but then they try to make a sequel, and the sequel does not work at all. Most of the jokes completely fall flat on their face. The acting is over the top in this movie. Kevin Hart, who I enjoy in some movies, is really starting to irk me because he's playing the same character in every single movie now. And it's just gotten to that point where I get tired of seeing that same character that he plays, those same jokes, the same facial reactions. I'm getting tired of it, and it really took a toll on this movie. The selling point of this movie is really the chemistry between Ice Cube and Kevin Hart, but that doesn't even save the movie because the jokes aren't funny. Number 7, Suicide Squad. I had high hopes for this movie, man. I really did. But I guess I didn't learn from Batman vs. Superman because I was disappointed with this movie. The action is pretty boring with the usual mindless minions for the bad guy who you know aren't going to hurt the main characters of the movie. And the CGI for the most part is laughable in some of these scenes. The ending doesn't make sense. The whole part for the fact that the Suicide Squad was created to fight something that didn't exist before they were created. It doesn't make sense. This movie is just convoluted. The script is pretty bad. Some of the characters are actually pretty good. I think I think Will Smith did okay as Deadshot, and Margot Robbie really did a good job with Harley Quinn. But that's about it. All the other characters are really forgettable. Most of them have pretty cheesy dialogue, and the movie I completely despise the way this movie was shot. It feels like I was watching a completely long music video. I did not like this movie, guys. And it sucks because it's just another disappointing DCEU movie. Like DC, man, I am rooting for you guys. I want the movies to be good. I want to be big fans of your movies, but you're making it hard for me to be be a fan of the movies when they're like this. Number 6, Zoolander 2. Another unnecessary sequel that came too late for its own sake. I like the first movie a lot, actually. I find it really funny. But all this movie does, all it really truly does in the movie is just make callbacks to the original movie and use those jokes in this movie as if, there's something new, or if we haven't seen them. Or I don't know if the movie thinks it could get away with that because it's been so long since the first one, but it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You can tell that the movie is just calling back to the original, to what was the better version of this. The silliness in the movie is really out of hand. It really gets, it's unbearable how silly this movie is. It almost makes it unwatchable, really. I know some people who just walked out of this movie because it was so unwatchable and so over the top. And it just doesn't hit any of the marks that the first movie did. And again, it was completely unnecessary. Number 5, My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2. Again, another unnecessary sequel. This movie is a complete rehash of the first movie, but it lacks everything that made the first movie enjoyable. This movie loses the charm that the first one had, and the whole family element and the real comedic moments of the first one. And I really think this movie. I'm not Greek, okay, so I don't know if this is true or not. But from what I saw, how they portrayed the Greek family in this movie, it just felt like it was really stereotypical and really I even think it was a little bit racist. Just the way they portrayed the Greek family didn't have that smart funniness from the first one that I really enjoyed. And the acting is really over the top. The jokes, they made me cringe. Most of them are just really low blow jokes that really just appeal to the least common denominator. Number four, Divergent Allegiance. Oh my gosh, this movie franchise needs to die. It just gets worse and worse with the movies. I don't know if the writers on this or whoever's idea it is to keep on making these movies. I don't know if they don't understand that these movies are just getting worse and worse, and they don't listen to their criticism, and they don't care. They just make the movie they want to make because this movie's horrendous. The franchise is dead. The box office is showing that the movies in this franchise are just getting making less and less at the box office because these movies are getting worse and worse as they go on. This movie was boring. It just felt so dull. I feel like I was it was this movie was dead. Nothing appealed to me about this movie. None of the acting appealed to me. And this movie has some okay actors, but this movie was dead. As in, it was so lifeless. I had no fun. I didn't enjoy this movie, and I didn't want to watch it. I barely watched the other ones, and this one it was just rough to get through. Like I said, it was dead, just like the acting in this movie was. It was bad, and this movie does nothing more than just bury the young adult movie franchises based off books into a deeper hole that I don't think it's ever gonna climb out of anytime soon. Number three, people said this movie was gonna save video game movies. It was gonna spark us into a whole decade of great video game movies. But this movie did the complete opposite of that. It set us back another 10 years for video game movies. Now I played the games of Assassin's Creed game, and I enjoy them. They're fun. And I was excited for this movie. The trailers and all the promotional material sold me. Michael Fassbender joining this movie gave me hope that he read the script and he really liked it. Because to get to get an actor of that caliber to join a movie, it has to be pretty good, right? Well, this movie proved that it wasn't. Like, why can't a video game movie just be decent? Like, it just turned out like a blind date. It was, you were excited, at the thought of it, of what it could be. But when it actually came to the actual release of the movie, it was horrible. This movie had no idea what it was. It had no idea what it was going for. Michael Fassbender, who I love in most of his other movies, did bad in this movie, and that's hard to say because he's one of my favorite actors of today, and he did bad in this movie. I don't know what he was thinking joining this movie. Maybe it was a big paycheck, but this movie just has an identity crisis. It doesn't know what it is. It's jumping around from the future to the past, and it doesn't flow well. Not to mention the action scenes. The action scenes in this movie are shot in a really, for me at least, in an unwatchable way. Like the way they're edited, or I don't know if it's just the way they edited it or the way they're shot. It makes it really hard to keep track of what's happening in the movie. To really focus on what's happening in the story. Maybe it's just me, but yeah. Number two, Independence Day Resurgence. For the first Independence Day, I liked it. It was a fun popcorn flick. You turn off your brain, have some fun, watch a good sci-fi action movie. And I was hoping for that with this one. I really was. But it was just another completely unnecessary sequel that waited too damn long to come out. This movie was bad. This movie was just completely bad. We're getting now in the top two. These movies are just completely unwatchable for me again. I don't know how I didn't fall asleep in this movie. I think I did because I don't remember anything that happened in this movie. I really don't, and I don't care that I missed the movie. I paid to go watch it, but I really don't care that I missed. I'm pretty sure the majority of the movie, or I just don't remember what happened. Point being, this movie is just it waited too long. We lost the main character of Will Smith, who I enjoyed in the first one. He was the selling point to me of the first one, and now that he's not here in the sequel, it feels off because the characters that we fell in love with from the first one are gone, and the other characters who remain, who came back from the first one, are used in a they're just used in a very weird way. It doesn't make sense that they're there, and it feels really forced. The action is boring and hard to follow. The characters in this movie, the new characters they're horrible, man. Like it is so hard to like these characters. You can't like them. You hate them like as if they were the villain. This movie is too long, too long. Like I was when I was in the theater, I just wanted this movie to end. That's the one thing I remember. I was like, can I just leave this already? I want to leave this movie. I never want to watch it again. And I want to. This movie is just it's bad, man. It's bad. It's not fun. It's not a fun action sci-fi movie. It's not. It's unbearable. The love story in this is bad. The acting is completely horrendous. This movie tried so hard to be something that it wasn't. We got a movie that had no idea what it was, and even the actors, I feel like they had no clue what they were doing because they looked lost the entire time, and their acting showed that they weren't sure what the hell they were doing in this movie. And again, this movie drags. It really drags. Number one, guys. This is, in my opinion, the worst movie of the year. I can't believe this got even passed to be made a movie. I really don't know how it got passed. Gods of Egypt. This movie is, a story about the gods of Egypt, but this movie is extremely whitewashed. It's made up of pure bad storytelling, and this movie relies too much on CGI. Too much. If I'm correct, I believe the whole movie is CGI besides the actors. And for a movie that relies so much on CGI, you should try your best to make sure that it's good, right? This movie doesn't do that. The CGI here in this movie is laughable. The dialogue is so cheesy, man. So cheesy. I felt like it was a spoof movie because the dialogue was that cheesy. Like people wouldn't say the things that they say in this movie. I don't care if you're from ancient Egypt or the future or the present day. You would not speak like this. And I laughed so many times during this movie, not because there was a funny joke, but because how bad this movie was. Like I laughed. I think this is gonna be one of those movies where if you want to watch it because of how bad it is, and you want to laugh at it and just see that there are bad movies out there. This is one of them. This is a movie you could watch and just laugh at how bad it is. You could watch it and just completely lose yourself in this bad film. The acting is horrendous in this movie, and I don't know how this movie got made. This story is really just the script made no sense. The story made no sense. I don't know how this got past the pre-production stage. Like, did anyone ever think, God, this is a bad movie? Why the hell are we greenlighting this to stop it? No one did that, and they made this movie and they gave it to us, and no one saw this movie. And if you were one of the few that did, I'm sorry for you. Like I really am. I couldn't get over how bad this movie was, and as soon as I watched it, I knew that this movie was going to be in the top three, and here it is making number one. Oh, and then I mentioned the CGI is bad because if I didn't, or just know that the CGI is bad in this. It looks like a high school student made this film with the CGI. That's not to this at high school students who make films with CGI. Like you're doing what you do and you like it. But this for a big budget movie from a big studio, you would expect the CGI to at least be okay. But the CGI in this movie isn't, and it really drags the movie down, making it worse, much more worse than it already is. Okay, guys, so that's my list for the worst movies of 2016. So now I have a question for you guys. What's your worst movie of the year? What's the one movie that you just completely hated and you think is the worst movie of the year? Comment below. Also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at SifLord310. Check in later for this week for my 8 best movies of the year. And if you guys enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and remember, may the force be with you.